Okay, this is the review for Mat 1100 Unit 2 test. And in numbers 1 through 5, we're going to be converting. You'll be using the equivalencies found on page 192 to do the conversions. In number 1, you're asked to convert from 40 inches into yards. In the book, this was taught in 2 steps as well as the online examples, and that's because the equivalencies that you're given on page 192 were the following. Those tables included this. 12 inches is equal to 1 foot, and the tables also included this, which is the reason why it was taught in the book in 2 steps, because these conversions allow you to get rid of inches by using the first equivalency, 12 inches equal to 1 foot. Let me point out, I'll keep stressing this, that you are always to start with the given information, and it is mandatory that this unit matches this one so that they can cancel. It's the only way they cancel is if the same unit is in the numerator as well as the denominator. So now you're in feet. The unit at the top is the unit that you are now in, but you want to be in yards, and that is why this is a 2-step problem, because you needed 2 conversion factors to get to the final answer. So I used this one already. Now I'm using the second conversion. If this unit is feet, that same unit has to be here. Again, this is what causes units to cancel. Same unit, top and bottom. And then you're going into yards. There's 3 feet in 1 yard. When you get ready to do the calculations, just multiply all the way across the top, get a single number. And you can actually do the same with the bottom. Get a single number, write the only unit that should remain at that point, and then if you are converting to a decimal, as was the main theme from chapter 1 in this book, to convert a fraction to a decimal, it's just top divided by bottom in your calculator, which would give you that. If you'd like, you have another option for pressing this into the calculator, and that is to get one number on the top, and then before each of these divisors, you'll press the division sign. So another way to get 1.11 would be 40 divided by 12, and then hit the division sign again, divided by 3, and you'll get 1.11 as well. If you would like to do this problem in 1 step rather than 2, meaning you'll only be using 1 conversion factor, then you're going to need to add to what was found on the tables on page 192, and that would be this extra bit of information. 36 inches is equal to 1 yard. That information was not on the tables, but you can add it. And you're going to be making up your own note card anyway. So to do this in 1 step, this was how to get the answer in 2 steps, using what you were given in your book. And this is how you can do it in 1 step if you just want to be a little creative and add on to the information that they gave you. So 40 inches, again, always start with what they give you. Put your first conversion factor, and in this case there's only going to be 1. This unit must match this unit, and the unit you're going into will go at the top. Use the numbers in the equivalency statement. There's 36 inches in 1 yard. Just like in this problem up here, multiply across the top, so you get a 40. Then the only divisor in this case would be 36, and the only unit would be yards. Since you have the same fraction, it's going to give you the same decimal. Okay, so either way, I'd go for the 1 step if I was advising you. Less work is always nice. In number 2, you're converting from 288 miles into kilometers. Okay, in this particular problem, you are using the 3rd table down all the way at the bottom of page 192. You'll see a table titled Converting Between Systems, and that's because They want you to go into the metric system, but you're not starting from the metric system. So that's the title of that. The conversion that you're going to need must have these 2 units. If you can possibly find an equivalency statement that contains both of these, that would be great, because then it's only one step. But if you can't find an equivalency statement in the tables that has both of these, then it has to have at least this one. Okay, but there is one that has both of them, so this will be one step, and it says that there are 1.61 kilometers in 1 mile. So again, always start with what they give you. Put your conversion factor. This unit must match this one, and you're going into kilometers. Okay, use the numbers that you were given in the equivalency statement on page 192, and that's their 1.61 kilometers in 1 mile. Multiply across the tops, which would give you 463, going out to 2 decimal places again, 463.68. The unit that remains is kilometers. And I would say to divide, but the only divisor is the number 1, which is not going to change anything, even if you do push divided by 1. So you needn't put that into the calculator. Okay, that's the answer for number 2. In numbers 3, 4, and 5, you're converting as well. In number 3, you're starting off with 0.02 hectometers, and you're going into centimeters. Now for this one, instead of grabbing equivalency statements from page 192, I did teach you a shortcut, and this can only be used when you're staying within the metric system. See here, you're going metric to metric, so you're never leaving the metric system. And in that case, you can use this saying: King Henry died Monday. This M in the middle is for meter, but it is interchangeable. You can replace it with grams or liters. Those are also considered base units. This meter is when you're measuring length, gram is when you're measuring mass, and liters is when you are measuring liquid. So this is kilograms, hectograms, decagrams. These are the big units, all bigger than the base unit meter, and then these are all smaller. Decimeter, centimeter, millimeter. So to use this saying, being that let's say that you actually know what each of these things stand for, you don't have to write them all out. You're just moving from hectometers to centimeters, observing how many spaces and in what direction you're moving to get from hectometers to centimeters. So this is hectometers. You'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you just went 4 spaces to the right, which is exactly what you will do with this decimal in order to get the answer in centimeters. And when you go 4 spaces to the right, you will now be in centimeters. So you're going to take this 0.02. You don't really need to write that 0. Move it 1, 2, 3, 4. So now the decimal is no longer here. It's right here. And your answer would be, when you give your final answer, now that you've moved the decimal all the way to the back, you don't need to state the leading zeros, nor do you need to state the decimal when it's at the back. So leading zeros don't need to be mentioned. Zeros in the back do, but not leading zeros. So this will be 200, and the unit that you're now in is centimeters. And that's number 3. Leading up to number 4, 7,200 seconds. And you are moving into hours. I'm going to do this in 2 conversions. Going from seconds into minutes, there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So that'll get rid of seconds. Now you're in minutes, and then we can go from minutes to hours. Again, note that you are always starting with what they gave you, making this unit match this one. Always, the unit that's on top must match the unit in the bottom, even as you continue with the problem. Notice that I'm doing that again. Minutes has to match minutes. What you're trying to convert into, change over to, is the unit that goes at the top. I'm trying to go into hours. Okay, there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. Multiplying across the top, you get 7,200. The minutes are gone. So the only unit that's left is hours. And then on the bottom, if you want to just get one number, or you can go 7,200 divided by 60, divided by 60 again, pressing the division sign before each of these numbers. Or if you want to only press the division sign one time on your calculator, then that means you would need to get one single number here. So 60 times 60 is 3,600, and it would be this divided by this, which is 2. And that's number 4. Last conversion. Wait, let's see. You actually have more conversions here. Yeah, you're converting in number 6 as well. Okay, so continue with the conversions. Number 5, you're starting off with 0.0678. You're in grams, and you're going into milligrams. Now you can use the conversions on page 192. You can use conversion factors like we did in numbers 1 and 2, or you can use this saying that I used in problem number 3. Only instead of thinking of the base unit as meters, you would think of it as grams, because this problem's about grams. So if you're thinking of this middle unit as grams rather than meters, it's hectogram, kilogram, hectogram, decagram, and then this would be decigram, centigram, milligram. So we can still use this again. All right, if we're going from grams, the base unit, to milligrams, then you have to know milligrams is right over here. So you'd be going from, let's call this grams to decigrams, then to centigrams, then to milligrams. So I just moved 3 spaces to the right to get from the base unit in the middle, grams, to decigrams, centigrams, milligrams. And that's what I'll do right here. I'll move this decimal 3 spaces to the right. 1, 2, 3. You end up right between the 7 and the 8. So this would be, again, you don't need to state these leading zeros. This would be 67.8 milligrams, and that's your answer without using a conversion factor. In problem number 6, you're going and you're taking, now these are called rates, and that's because they have 2 units to begin with, so they can be called a rate. 95 kilometers per hour. This is how far the object is moving every 1 hour. And they're asking for this to be converted into miles per hour. So if right now it says kilometers per hour, and you want it to say miles per hour, that means that you need to get rid of the kilometers. So what you're going to do, okay, you want this to be in miles. You're trying to get rid of kilometers. You want this to state so many miles per hour. So you want the hour to stay there. You're not trying to get rid of that unit. You're trying to get rid of the kilometers. So if you want this unit to go away, the only way to make it cancel is to mention that unit all over again, but down in the denominator now. You want to mention it on the opposite level than what you're presently seeing it on. So it's in the top, now it's in the bottom. And I believe in problem number 2, there was a conversion that took us from kilometers into miles. And that was 1.6 1.61 kilometers from the tables on page 192 is equivalent to 1 mile. See, the things that make up these conversion factors, these fractions, they're things that are equal to each other. 1 mile is equal to 1.61 kilometers. Okay, multiply across the top, you get 95. Multiply across the bottom, you get 1.61. Now you're going to press this into your calculator to get just one decimal. Units that are gone, kilometers, you're now in miles per hour, so it's still a rate. And the only difference between this and 1 through 5 is the answers in 1 through 5 ended up with only 1 unit. These answers have 2 units, one on top, one on bottom, and that's what makes them a rate. Okay, let's continue by pressing this into the calculator. 95 divided by 1.61 will give you approximately 59.375. Let me check that out real quick. 95 divided by, now let's see, in the directions they actually asked you to use just 1.6 rather than 1.61. So we're not using the exact thing that was on page 192. They asked you to use this approximation. So let's fix that, and it would be 95 divided by 1.6, 59.375 miles per hour. Okay, that's the final answer for number 6.